And now I stand here, honored, humbled, to be here with you in your next phase, to be the first chapter director who's leading this organization, to be the first woman taking the helm. And with a dedication to servant leadership, I just have to start my remarks with many thank yous. First, the search committee. Whew, lots of hours. We're hearing about lots of the Zoom calls. Thank you for your time and energy that you put into this process. Thank you for opening up the process to nominations to hear from our community of who we wanted to nominate to lead. The board, thank you for your service, your confidence in me. Mark, for your years and years of service, your blood, sweat, and tears for making this some pretty big shoes to fill. It's incredible to be able to take the helm at a place where NLC is a well-oiled machine and only on to our next huge phases. Staff. Y'all, can we please clap again for our staff? Right. Any staff that can put on a convention like this and our programming year-round needs to consistently be thanked. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we can do clap more for them. Yeah. We've all been there. We've been all the staff who've been organizing. To our donors, Mark is absolutely right. We could not do this without our donors. I've started to get to meet you, and some of you, I can't wait to be able to continue to get to know you more. For all of the chapter boards, for our NCPs, NPC, you are doing God's work out in the field. As being someone who's been a curriculum chair, chapter director, you are doing what needs to make sure our programs happen every day and is serving all the amazing people here and who aren't even in the room. And then finally, I want to say thank you to you, the incredible, the one and only NLC community. I've been a lead trainer and have heard so many of your stories, and I want to hear more. I know that you are what makes this country great. You are the reason our country will come through these times stronger and more equitable. You are the reason why I'll wake up every day determined to get you the resources to shape and lead every level of our society and democracy. From now on, that is going to be my #1 concern. Thank you. To tell you a little bit about myself, because I know some of you, but we still have a relationship to build and get to know one another in traditional NLC style. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. Grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. Any other Midwesterners? Where are our Midwesterners? And grew up the youngest of 3 kids. The family, let's just admit it, Cincinnati is really not the bastion of progressive politics. Everyone in the family kind of knew there was something different going around this girl. When in the 3rd grade, I got in trouble for smacking an 8th grade boy who called me babe as a joke. And ever since then, I look back and see why there's just always been a trend where much of my career has been focused on leadership of underrepresented communities. And being this middle-class girl from kind of a manufacturing background, it wasn't necessarily always the most progressive place, didn't quite know how to have that roadmap to get there, and NLC has provided that roadmap, which I'm sure for many of you have had that similar experience. My NLC history is it's in my blood. I was, again, a fellow in 2012. Curriculum chair in 2013 in DC, where I know where my curriculum chair is in terms of being able to put on that institute weekend after weekend. Yes. Chapter directors in terms of being able to have that first experience of executive leadership that really helped propel me into the experiences that I've had now. Was able to be part of the 2016 First Spark Talks, where I was talking about my experience as a lead trainer. And then I've been a lead trainer. I've gotten to know many of you in chapters across Tampa. Where's my Tampa chapters? Chicago, in Baltimore, and all around the country, being able to get to hear and know your stories. And all that being said, along the way was developing a career around representation and leadership. And I've lived the entrepreneurial way for the past few years in terms of doing consulting work with global brands on issues of diversity, equity, inclusion in the eras of Hollywood and Me Too and Oscar So White's times. And Shisha Run is executive director of Grew Movement, where it was a sleepy research organization that focused on an Ask a Woman to Run program to over 20,000 women who are considering a future run for office and really building the next powerhouse. Yes, it's not out of my system. I'm looking at every single woman in this audience to ask you to run for office someday. Worked at Women's Campaign Fund, which was the first PAC founded to fund pro-choice women, and changed their endorsement program as political director to focus and center our work around first-time candidates of color and LGBTQ candidates. At Girl Scouts of the USA was a lobbyist and activist for elevating the voices of girls and worked closely with the Obama administration on the White House Council of Women and Girls. I'm just going to echo Senator Booker's remarks of, yes, we miss Obama. Michelle was fantastic to work with. And listen, just as we have few times together, as I look ahead, I have really, we have a lot of work together to do. I have a vision set forward of where I really want to focus on the power of our stories. After being a lead trainer for so many years, I've heard and seen the power of your stories. I want us all to really think back to our first weekend and to really remember the transformation and the power that was in the room when we were all witnessing others and sharing our own personal stories. Can you remember that? It's made me really think about coming before convention that I know firsthand the power of your stories to change this country. I have heard your triumphs and your joys throughout lead trainings. I've heard your pain and your suffering. And many times, Mark alluded to this, you could have tapped out. You could have decided to only just survive for yourself. But time and time again, we've seen NLC fellows choose to thrive, and not only thrive for themselves, but for the common good and the good life for everyone in this country. You've started businesses, you've run for office, you've stepped up to lead organizations time and time again. I have seen incredible transformations come even just from that one weekend and then the overall institute. There is immense power and importance of telling our stories in these political times. For my Game of Thrones fans, Tyrion's last scene, what unites people? Armies, gold, flags, stories. There's nothing in the world more powerful than a good story. And for our supporters of the squad, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley always says, your story is powerful because it's yours. It's time for NLC's story to be told, for your story to be told, for you to be able to use the power of your story to change how power is used in this country. What lies ahead is that I know we all have our eyes on the prize for 2020, for what comes for NLC in the next 10, 20 years. Now that we've expanded our chapters to reach even more emerging progressive leaders, I know we all have on our minds that this is the ideal time to envision what we are going to do with all that leadership potential of you in this room, of over 9,000 alums. Focus on setting and working with you on a plan and a vision that helps bolster our fundraising, our membership, our branding, but most importantly, how are we going to make sure that we're bolstering your stories and make sure that you have the resources to be successful and how you want to leverage that story to change this country. Daring leaders are willing to step up to do what has never been done before, and I firmly believe this organization can and should model the leadership that we ask our fellows to embody. To do so, I'll be reaching out to you to hear your stories. NLC has one president at a time, and so until about September, Mark will be at the helm, but between now and then, I'll be reaching out to you to set up calls, doing a listening tour. My main focus is that I'm going to have 2 ears and 1 mouth. I want to hear your story. I want to hear from the caucuses. I want to hear your personal stories. I want to hear your NLC stories to be able to shape this next vision. Cannot and will not do it without you. That's the number one piece of how my leadership style is. And for my commitment to you is that, again, from this day forward, my number one concern is you, that you have the resources to use the power of your story. I recognize the very real responsibility of shepherding our beloved organization movement through an era where the very meaning of our democracy is like quicksand, and we are reshaping it. And at this point, I'm going to be focused on what we need to be successful, for you to be successful, and to build an organization together. Thank you. I cannot wait to talk with you more throughout the day and the upcoming sessions. Thank you. Thank you for your trust. Glad to meet you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. And to keep myself honest, I have always one of my own personal histories. I'm sure many of you have kept it too. This will be my talisman in terms of making sure that as we go through and we do the work ahead, that we're staying committed to these stories and your stories. I firmly believe, and I'm here to serve you. Thank you.